Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Toni and I'm a homeschooling mom to 4 kids. And I have discovered something that is actually kind of life-changing. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but seriously, in the homeschooling world, when you find something that works, you got to tell people about it. And I'm really excited to tell you about this today. So if you want to find out about something that changed our lives when it came to math, my most dreaded subject, then you better stay tuned. Okay, so if you've been around here for a while, you probably know that I really don't like math. I'm not a math-minded mom. I don't like math. I would love to skip it if I could, but I can't. So I have found something that worked for many years, which was Christian Light Education Math. Loved it. It was really good. It worked for my kids. We survived really well, and my kids thrived with Christian Light. Loved it. That was for the elementary age and even junior high. Now, I have a high schooler. That's the one thing that I think almost all moms, unless you are a math-minded mom that loves math and does math in your free time or something like that, unless you're like that, if you're like the other probably 95% of us that really don't like math, the scariest part I think about homeschooling is teaching math or science or some of those really difficult upper level like high school classes. It's like, I didn't do that well when I was in high school. How in the world am I going to teach my daughter or my son how to do high school level math? So that was the scary part. I've heard so many moms talk about that. So I am at that point. I have a 9th grader. So we're facing that. And I had to figure out what was going to work. And for a couple different reasons, we decided not to continue with Christian Light education. I think I've talked about it in some of my Christian Light videos before, but they have a really, really awesome, solid elementary and junior high program. And then I feel like in high school, I don't know. I haven't heard a whole lot about good stuff about their high school, so I skipped it. And I'm not saying it's not good, but that wasn't for us. So I had to find something that would work. I have never been an online class mom. Like I have always taught all the subjects, everything from Bible to math to science, history, Spanish. I try to teach Spanish a little bit, stuff like that. So I have always taught everything. I was not, for me, and I know there's lots of moms that do, I have good friends that everything they do is online, and that's fine. They do like video lessons or whatever. I just never wanted to do that. Homeschooling, I always envisioned me teaching those things to my kids. Well, guess what? When you get to high school, you may change your mind if you're like me. If you've always had that mindset of I'm going to teach everything, I have discovered that as my children's subjects and grades and things have gotten more difficult, I don't have time to sit and teach 4 different kids everything. So I've gotten help from other places for that this year. One thing that we do is a co-op, which I'm not going to go into, but at this co-op, they do history, they do science, and they do literature and gym class. So that's stuff that I don't have to teach. Well, another thing, we're not talking about that today. The thing we're talking about is math. So math is one of those things that I figured out this year for high school. It needs to be online. I don't want to teach it anymore. Not to any of my kids, but to high school, I don't have any interest in trying to relearn Algebra 2 and geometry and whatever. Who knows how far we'll get. I don't want to relearn that and figure out how to try to teach it to my daughter. And that's the cool part about homeschooling is you can, I can't think of that word. It's like contracted out. It's not contract. It's like, you guys know what I'm trying to say. Like get help from somewhere else. What's the word? Oh, I hate it when my brain doesn't work. I'll think of it as soon as I'm done filming. I am contracting that out to use an online math program this year. We're only like 3-4 maybe weeks into school so far, but I love what we're using. It's CTC Math. It is completely online and it is, I feel like what I've been looking for. It's so awesome. Now I considered a couple years ago when one of my girls was struggling with math, I considered doing teaching textbooks. But I kept hearing stuff, no offense to anyone who uses teaching textbooks, but from my research, I kept hearing that it maybe wasn't at the level like it was below grade level. So if your kid was in 7th grade, you would go ahead and bump them up to the 8th grade level. Now that's just what I, found out from my preliminary research. I did that for a while. I researched it. If you use teaching textbooks and it works for you, then that is awesome. So don't be mad at me for saying that because it may work great for you. we all get to use whatever works for us. And I'm not here to criticize anything else. I just hadn't used teaching textbooks before because I had a couple hesitations about it. But that's what I wanted, was something online that the kids watch the lesson and then they do it all online and it grades it for them and I don't have to touch it. I just see that they're taught. So I was trying to figure out, what can I do if I can't do teaching textbooks, because I don't feel like that's what we need, but I don't want to teach it myself, and I found CTC Math. I had a friend of mine that came to visit, a friend from college, and I asked her what they use because she has a high schooler and she has, I don't remember, her other daughter is somewhere around the middle school age. And I was like, what do you use for math? And she told me about CTC Math. Now I'd heard about it. It was one of those things that like I heard about it, but I didn't hear enough about it. So it was kind of like, do you ever get like that where you're doing your research and you hear like so much about this one thing? So you're like, that must be good. Everybody uses it. And then you hear just a little bit about this other one and you're like, why aren't more people talking about this? I don't know. Maybe I won't use it. That was kind of how I felt with this. I was like, well, that sounds really good, but I don't know anybody that uses it personally. Then I talked to her and she said it completely changed her daughter's math, grades, everything, their understanding about math. And she said it was just like a 180. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that sounds awesome. So I looked into it and I'm kind of feeling like it's going to be the same thing for us. It is all online. First of all, I have 2 of my daughters using it this year, my 9th grade daughter and my 7th grade daughter. I decided to let both of them use it this year. My 7th grader, I was a little unsure because I did like Christian Light Education for their middle school, but I let her pick and she wanted to do it online. So I was like, that's fine. My other 2, one's in 1st grade and one's in 5th grade. Those 2, I just want to keep them in Christian Light until they've learned all the basics. And I do like about Christian Light Education, the spiral approach, how it keeps all this other stuff, it keeps coming back and coming back. So it really gets ingrained in their head. Then I feel like they're comfortable and confident enough to go to something like CTC Math, which from what I understand, it's more of a mastery approach. It's not like you're learning this one thing. If you're learning about multiplying decimals, that's all you're doing for the most part. I mean, they might throw in a couple things here and there, but for the most part, that's what you're doing during that lesson or during that week, and you're mastering it. And you're not gonna have like division this and fraction this and whatever. You're not gonna have all this other stuff mixed in. When they're younger, I like the spiral approach better. So I wanted to make sure they're confident in all this other stuff. But I feel like once they get to like junior high, that really, maybe high school, that should be, they should have all the basics down. Like they don't need to be reminded, you know, how many inches are in a foot every day kind of thing. So I felt like they were ready for this. So it's been great so far. So they do here's how it works. And I'm gonna go through and show you a lesson. I'm gonna try to show you kind of the gist of how it works and I'll put it up here. So you go on their website, they'll log in. So you go over here, you'll sign in, and then you'll pull up whatever grade you're in. So if you're in like 1st grade, you're gonna go through 1st grade lesson 1. If you are in 9th grade, you're gonna pull up whatever you're in for 9th grade. So you might be in pre-algebra, you might be in algebra 1, you might be in geometry. So you just click on whatever level you're in. And then you start with lesson 1 and you do that. And the cool part is you can bounce around. Like that was something that I thought was neat. If like one of my girls wasn't quite where I wanted them to be, they can start a little bit behind. They can start over here and get like the basics of maybe what they should already have. And if they do a couple lessons a day, they can move on and get to where they want it, where they need to be. Like when you pay for the year, you have access to all the grades. So like if I wanted to have my 7th grader do 7th grade, and let's say she, you know, excels in it and gets through it, she could start on the 8th grade stuff. Or if she isn't quite ready, she could start in the 6th grade stuff and then move on to 7th grade when she was ready. Like you have access to all of the different levels for that child. So I thought that was really great because, you know, it's really annoying when you're put in a box, when your kid isn't quite in a box. If you have been homeschooling for any time at all, you know that it's not cut and dry. My kid is in 3rd grade. Sometimes it is, but in general, they might be in 3rd grade in most of their stuff. They might be a little bit ahead in this, a little bit behind in this, or it's just kind of a mixture of different things. And it's hard when you're like put in a box. You have to order the 7th grade curriculum or whatever it is. So I did like that about it.
Percentages of quantities. Let's look at some examples. We need to find 8% of $500. Now often when we're finding percentages, often to deal with money. Now 8% can be written as 8 over 100. And we're finding of $500. We're going to write that times 500 over 1. Right, rather than just leave that as 500, write that as a fraction, 500 over 1. Now we can see that the 500 has 2 zeros, and so does the 100 on the bottom. So those zeros in fact can cancel. So on the top 8 times 5 is 40. On the bottom 1 times 1 is 1, but because it's on the bottom we can ignore it. So our answer there is 40. But don't forget we're dealing with dollars. So make sure we include the dollars symbol. Find 70% of 320 meters. So 70% is written as 70 over 100 of 320 meters. So we multiply by 320, again, put it over 1, it's a whole number. Now often with these we can cancel down the zeros. Let's see, we have a 0 there, and then another 0 down the bottom, they can cancel. Also, there's a 0 as part of the 70, and that other 0 down the bottom, they can cancel. So that simplifies things quite a lot. So on the top, 7 times 32, and that works out to be 224. On the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1, so we can ignore that again. So 224, make sure we're interested in the units, in this case meters. All right, make sure that you are aware of that. So we must write our meters in. Excellent.
I also like that it is a video lesson. Now, the guy is not on there. You don't see his face, which is actually, I feel like, kind of good. You don't have that distraction. We've only done one other thing that had a guy standing there, and I don't know, it's easy to be like, oh, look at his hair today, or what a weird tie, or whatever, and be distracted. I don't know. Some kids are like that. So this is just like the whiteboard of him writing out the math lesson. He has an Australian accent, and I don't know, I like that. I find that comforting. I think it's nice. Kind of like down to earth or something. I don't know. I like it. But and then he just goes through the lesson. He shows you. Sometimes I think the lessons are typically, the videos are anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes. So sometimes it's a shorter one, sometimes it's a longer one, depending on what they're doing. He does multiple practice examples there till they should get it. Then they start doing practice problems, and they just continue on, and they click next, and it tells them whether they got it right or not. Then after you have done all the practice problems, there is the option to do a worksheet. And I love this about it, because if my kid scored, you can set whatever you want it to be. If you want to say 80 or higher, mine is typically it needs to be above an 86 is what I think I told them, in order for them to not have to do the worksheet. But let's say one of my girls scores an 81. And I'm like, I feel like you missed enough that you need to do the worksheet. So what I did, I think we had this happen twice with my girls, where I took the worksheet, and you can do it on the paper, but I just went ahead and printed it out and gave her a paper worksheet. And she worked it all out, then came back to the computer and put it all in the computer. You don't have to do anything on paper, but I sometimes like to have paper. And then she puts all her answers in and sees, and it tells her right away what she got right, what she got wrong. And you could do that multiple times probably, but usually they'll get it by that time. I love having that option of doing the extra work if they need it. And then if they don't need it, if they got 100% or they got a 95 or whatever, then I don't make mine do the worksheet. They just do the lesson. Hey, you've got it. You did a good score. You're done for the day. So it's great. It's really awesome. It doesn't take that long unless they're doing, I think it really just depends on what they're learning. Sometimes they're, I can't remember what it was, but there were a couple different times where my girls were doing, they both do it on the computer. So one was waiting for the other. And the one time it felt like it was taking forever because it was a long, I think she was doing like really big numbers, multiplying really big numbers. So it just took a while. I mean, there's more steps to it. Or if you were doing long division versus something with a calculator or something, it's good at some are going to be short, some are going to be long. So it just depends on your kid. But it's not a super long time consuming thing. And I feel like they're learning it. I feel like they're doing a really good job. And when they don't get it and they're like, Mom, can you come over? I could either, there've been a couple times where I sat and watched the video. I'm like, let's rewatch the video. It won't hurt them to watch it twice if they didn't really get it the first time. And that helps me. I can watch and see how we did this. Then I can help them. Or sometimes it's a super simple mistake. So this is the other thing. After they do their lesson, I can go in and click generate report. And then when I generate the report, it shows me what they got wrong. So I can pull that up and be like, oh, look, you added that thing wrong right there. That's all it is to it. Or like, oh, you were way off. Okay, let's see if we can figure out what we did wrong. So it's nice to be able to see what they did and try to help figure out why you got this wrong. Was it a simple mistake? Sometimes that happens. And that's one of the things where if they missed like 2 problems and they were simple mistakes, it does bring your grade down like quite a bit to just miss 2 because it's not, you're not doing 50 problems. I don't know how many they do, but it's not a whole lot. It's enough to get it, but not enough to like make you feel like you're gonna, throw the computer against the wall. Anyway, I've loved it so far. I am partnering with CTC Math this year. And I always let you guys know that if you don't know me, if you know me, hopefully you know that I am completely honest when I share things, even when I partner with companies. So you're gonna hear the honest truth. I will share with you what I don't like. I will share with you what I like, but I am really excited to be partnering with them this year because I really feel like this is like exactly what we needed, especially for my high schooler. So it's going really well. We have not had any tears with math. I mean, if you can do math without having any tears, I think that's a win-win. I've really loved it. I think it has been great. I will tell you this, if you are a mom that gets behind in grading, is there anybody? Give me a high five in the comments or just let me know that you get behind in grading because that is my biggest downfall with homeschooling is I am juggling 4 different kids and we're working throughout the day. I never have time to be like, oh, everybody's working quietly. Let me sit and catch up on grading. Let me see right here. That's my grading box. Not all of that needs graded. The stuff at the bottom just needs put away, but some of that needs graded. And I don't have time during the day. And then sometimes at the end of the day, either we have to rush and go right to like volleyball practice or I'm exhausted and I need to go turn my brain off for a little bit before I have to make dinner. So I get behind. And then sometimes I'm like the next day, I'm more behind. And then the next day I'm like, oh, I have so much to do. I can't do it. And terrible. Don't do that. But if you are someone who has struggled to keep up on grading, this is amazing because I don't have to grade their math. I only have 2 kids math that I have to grade. My son, I sit with him while he does it, so I grade his while we're doing it. My other daughter is the only one I have to grade. So I will say I love that. That is like the probably biggest perk is that the computer grades their stuff. You will get like a whole report. They send you an email every single week that lets you know how they did that week. It's awesome. It's really, really good. It's like having a teacher, like I'm sending it to a teacher and the teacher's teaching them, grading the work. and then they send them back home. So it's awesome. I really like it so far. We'll see how the year is. I mean, like I said, we're less than a month in. So I just want to give you guys my like initial reaction. So far, 2 thumbs up. I'm loving it. So check it out. If you are looking for a math program or you want to be more hands-off, those are my 2 favorites, are Christian Light Education and CTC Math so far. I have tried a couple other ones. I've tried a handful of other ones, and some of them were total duds. But so far, this one is up there, and I'm loving it. If you want that online aspect to math, please check out CTC Math, because I think it's really great. Okay, thanks for being here, guys. I hope this was informative. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe for more homeschool stuff, mom life, and thrifty stuff. I love to thrift, but I'm trying to, you know, be responsible and do homeschool stuff and not just thrift. But so make sure you click that subscribe button. Thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.